All right, today's lesson is 132, which is an offshoot of our previous lesson 131. So 132 is basically solving equations with variables on both sides, so there's a slight tweak. Before we start, there's a couple terms we should define, the first of which is variable. So variables are letters that represent an unknown or changing number. Examples that we see a lot are X, Y, T, S, P. These are just really common ones in math. The second term is constant. A constant is a number with no variable whose value does not change. So, for example, if we had the expression y equals 6x minus 4, minus 4 would be our constant. The variable would be x. If you're curious, the number 6 is called a coefficient. It's the number in front of a variable that tells you like how many there are. So like 6x means there are 6 x's. In case you're curious, that's what 6 is called, a coefficient. And then last is like terms. So like terms are pieces of an equation that look the same. So for example, if I put down 8m plus 3p minus 6m plus 5 minus 2 plus 5p, just as an example, the like terms would be the things that look the same. So for example, 8m and negative 6m, those look the same. Those are called like terms. Positive 3p or 3p and this 5p, those are like terms. And then this 5 and this negative 2, those are also like terms. What you will do with like terms is you will combine them. So when you combine like terms, you do 8 minus 6, that's 2m. Let's see, 3 and 5, 3p's and 5p's makes 8p's. Then a positive 5 minus 2 is plus 3. So that's what we do once we identify like terms, is we combine them. So over here, you might recognize that there's multiple terms going on here, and they're on both sides of the equation. So what we have to do is we need to start moving them so that they're combined. The problem is we can't just add them up because they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So there's two rules that I typically follow here. One, if I have two x terms, I'll usually move x first. And if there's two terms, if they're both positive, I like to move the smaller positive, because it will make sure that we don't result in a negative. So what I mean is if I do minus 3x, we end up with 4 x's here and nothing there. If I were to move 7x, I'd end up with negative 4x's here. I just don't really like negatives. You're not going to get it wrong. I just don't like negatives, so I don't do that. I just move the smaller one first to make sure that I don't get any negatives. So I would minus 3x on both sides and line up the like terms. Chunga chunga, we got 42 here equals 6, and then here 7x minus 3x is 4x. Then it's just like before, minus 6, chunga chunga, 4x equals 36. Divide by 4, x is 9. Same thing, drop a line. Here I have two x terms. They're both positive, so I'd move this one. This is like 1x. 6x's minus 1x is 5x's. Plus 17 equals these chunga chunga 2. Then we'll go minus 17, chunga chunga, 5x is still there, negative 15 is there. Divide by 5, x equals negative 3. All right. Now on the previous page I said if they're both positive, I move the smaller one. If they're negative and positive, if it's a positive and a negative, I move the negative. I just don't like negatives, like I said. So I would drop that. Here I see a positive, here's a minus or negative. So I would do plus x, or like plus 1x. These chunga chunga, we're left with negative 19. 3x plus 1x is 4x minus 7. And now it's like normal. Plus 7, chunga chunga, 4x is negative 12. Divide by 4, chunga chunga, x is negative 3. All right, if we look at this one, we find our x terms. Here's one, here's the other. What I would do, and again, you don't have to do this. You can do whatever you want. There's a ton of options here, actually. But the first move I would personally make is to move the negative. So I would do plus 3x's. Chunga chunga, we'd have 9x's minus 4 equals 14. Then do plus 4, chunga chunga, 9x equals 18. Divide by 9, chunga chunga, x is 2. If you guys ever get decimals or fractions, don't think you're wrong, because that happens often. All right, if you want to pause the video and try this one yourself, go for it. But here, like I said, I like to move the negative. So what I would do is I would do plus 6x, And we get 7x's minus 15 equals 13. Those chunga chunga. So then we go plus 15. And we get 7x chunga chunga equals 28. Divide by 7, x equals 4. Now let me show you what happens if you do it the other way. So some students don't like to follow rules like I make up. Like, that's fine, I don't care at all. So they might want to move this. Well, then you have to minus x, chunga chunga, you get negative 15 equals 13 minus 7x. Then you're going to want to minus 13, chunga chunga, negative 28 equals negative 7x. Divide by negative 7, chunga chunga, x is 4. So you see, you get the same thing. It just looks a little different in process. That's why it's really important that you guys show us your work so we know what method you were using, and we can find errors. All right, you guys have an assignment 132 to work on.